I haven't really seen a super ambitious technical roadmap around like hyper EVM, which like I think they should absolutely pursue, because like they have all of the users clearly. Why not just kind of like really, shoot for the stars? I understand that like the core team is very much focused on just like the perps decks and like the club and all these other things. But if you have a chance to dethrone mainnet, like ETH mainnet, as like the like EVM finance hub, why not just go for the jugular and just like really try to do it?
Hey guys, just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Ekiden. We'll hear more about their decentralized order book on Aptos later today, but for now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? This is Boccaccio, the bad host.
And the better host, Danny.
Today, we have a very, very important announcement for you. We are hosting Permissionless in Brooklyn. What dates?
It's going to be in June 24th through the 26th.
Very good. You can use code 0x10 to buy your tickets. We're going to do lots and lots of stuff. Dinners.
Games. You'll get to meet the whole crew, the OX Research crew, hopefully a bunch of the Blockworks Research and other Blockworks crew, and maybe a dunk tank.
We're going to have fun. Whatever we can smooch off of Yano and Mippo, we're going to do it. So if you are a 0x Research listener, make sure to use code 0x10 to buy your tickets. Danny, any parting words?
And we'll see you there.
Nothing said on 0x Research is a recommendation to buy or sell securities or tokens. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and any views expressed by anyone on the show are solely our opinions, not financial advice. Boccaccio, Ryan, and our guests may hold positions in the companies, funds, or projects discussed. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of 0x Research. Today I'm joined by Danny and Ian from Kairos Research. Thanks for coming on, Ian. I know you're a very, very busy man these days.
I'm extremely busy. If I'm not on the podcast with you, I'm attributing Stalin quotes to you or sending Telegram messages. So I'm glad I could take time off both of those things to be here.
Very good, very good. Please stop the Stalin stuff. I'm happy with the Telegram messages. That's completely okay.
I'll see what I can do.
You were on a PumpFun stream, right? Or TPB. What were you on?
Yeah, it was a PumpFun stream with Carl from Six Man Ventures.
Yeah.
So he's kind of starting a podcast over there. Whole idea is to try to, I guess, utilize the platform more. The live stream platform is actually pretty good, and there's also, I mean, they're early investors, to my understanding, in PumpFun, like one of the few, people are able to fund that team. So makes sense that they're using the product. And it was just, it was a really good experience, just kind of seeing what's going on over on the PumpFun live stream. The funniest part is definitely the chat. But I think there's some real potential there. I think it just kind of adds a new layer, I guess, to like the engagement that you see with live streams. But yeah, I mean, everyone is obviously wondering when Bach token. So I think that's the perfect layup there.
Zero chance for Bach token. What was the chat like? Was it mostly bots or was it like actual people?
My understanding, just by like looking at it, and I mean, this is all anecdotal. I don't really know who's a bot and who's not, but there's a lot of. It seemed real for the most part. There's a lot of censoring going on as well. Like if you're saying like crazy things, it was moderated. So I mean, I think that was one of the big critiques last time when not last time, but like originally when live stream went when it launched on PumpFun, you were seeing a lot of pretty crazy things, understandably. But yeah, this seemed to be very tamed, and team seems to be working on a couple updates for some feedback from yesterday. But yeah, it was cool.
Danny, what do you think about? I'm a big like. I don't know if you can get into. I don't know if you can get into. I don't know how easy it is to get into like the live streaming thing. I feel like on the like traditional side with YouTube and Twitch, it used to be a lot of Twitch, and now like I guess YouTube, like there was Facebook for a while. Facebook was, I know they were like signing massive deals, paying off a lot. YouTube obviously has like a decent chunk now. We had like Kick for us some time. I'm curious what you think if that's like a valuable, if the way, do you think that the PumpFun live stream could work out is like what I want to ask, but I haven't been able to do so.
Yeah. And I just wrote about this, so it's very timely. But I think the talk about like Twitch, YouTube, Kick is really interesting because I made a parallel to that in writing about Pump in my most recent report, which is live on Blockworks Research. Check it out, subs. And I dropped a thread recently as well talking about it, but some high level takes. The big thing is like you're saying, Twitch has been a long time dominator of the category. And I think really the biggest thing there is that there are very clear and like strong network effects around these things. And so, back in 2018, I want to say, maybe 2019, you had teams like Mixer come along who tried to do this model of just like, let's snipe, the top streaming talent on the Twitch platform, bring them over to our live streaming platform. Hopefully they'll bring their audience and then we can like kind of get some momentum from there. It failed miserably. Like, they signed up Ninja, Shroud, like some of the top names at the time who had, massive viewer counts, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of viewers, on a regular, like daily basis. And it was basically just like a big waste of money. Nothing really materialized out of it. And then Microsoft, which owned Mixer, shut the thing down maybe a year, 2 years in. It's funny though that then like YouTube and Facebook and now Kick like kind of followed up and just did the exact same thing for the most part. Like YouTube followed on, they paid a bunch of streamers to like go to their platform, big contracts. I guess the difference here is that like obviously YouTube is already a big like video platform. I think for them the bigger thing was just like building a compelling product. And I wonder if like onboarding an initial set of streamers was, to use them as like a sounding board maybe to kind of design that product a little bit. But we've seen some similar things like over the past couple of years where they signed some talent, their contracts ran out, or like they stopped paying big deals because they realized it was pointless. A bunch of those creators went back, but they did kind of like slowly eke out. They have like 20% market share in live streaming now, and Twitch is something like 60, 70%. So they were able to build something. Yeah, still.
Wow.
So they were able to build up something, but I would imagine that owes more to like they already have YouTube clearly already has like something of a network effect, right? They already have video content. It can't be that hard for them to get people to go from watching regular videos to watching live videos. Like I don't think that's that crazy. Kick is a little bit different, right? I think their model is actually interesting in relation to PumpFun because Kick, you're taking a casino which owns them, Stake. The business owns Kick. And I think that the kind of idea here is you do the same thing. You get some big streaming deals, right? They signed like Aiden Ross, XQC. These were massive deals, like NBA superstar type deals, like $50 million, $100 million deals, which is absolutely absurd and insane. You're not going to get the money back from that. But I think the goal is you can onboard some of these people, get viewers looking at streamers and content on your platform. And maybe these guys are gambling on stream. Maybe they're doing casino stuff on stream. Maybe they're doing slots on stream, whatever it is. And maybe you can get some of those viewers to then like go to your Stake products and then like gamble themselves. And then, turn a viewer, like grab a viewer, turn a viewer into a customer and turn that into some recurring revenue. I don't know if that's going to work for them. Maybe it will. They have like 5-6% market share and they've paid a lot of money to some of those top streamers. So like, we'll kind of see. I think they need time to see if that's ever going to net out, if it makes sense. But Pump is like an interestingly kind of similar thing, right? You're trying to mix trading coins with audiences around streamers. And I think at the very least, like there's a clear opportunity to grab Web3 native or like crypto native people, streamers, content creators, put them on the platform. You already have like an audience of people who already like to trade coins. And so there's kind of a natural fit there. But to your point, like the real question, which I'm totally unsure of, but they need to somehow find a way to, if this works out, if like crypto native streaming with coins is cool, people like doing that, they like to gamble on it, they need to find out how they can bridge the gap to Web 2. Because I think, regular audiences, I don't know if they care. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't.
The thing is, every time you bring on regular audiences and you give them like the opportunity to make money, they just make the money, full stack it, and then just leave. Like the same thing happened with Launchcoin, where it's like, oh, we're onboarding Web2 people. They launched a few products and tokens to fundraise, and then they just like full stacked and left. So it's a bit difficult.
I think the difference here is like there are parallels in streaming today, right? So live streamers do a bunch of different things like paid text to speech, just like direct donations for income from their viewers. They do like gambling, like polls and things on stream. And Twitch has a native system and YouTube as well, I think, where you can, I mean, these are like non-monetary, but you earn like points for watching and then you can gamble your points on polls and things like that. So I think that they see that there's an opportunity, like these platforms already see an opportunity for like gambling, like interactive games on top of the live streaming experience. So, if Pump and like crypto coins and like trading the coins can make that even like more, have crazy upside and outcomes and get people like really excited about it, there's an opportunity that it can turn into like a kind of lasting feedback loop for regular viewers.
Let's see. Ian, you unmuted and then got mocked by Danny. What do you think?
Typical. But yeah, I think Danny's kind of like hitting it right on the head there. Trying to get the right audience over to PumpFun to do what they would otherwise do on Twitch or any of these other platforms, I think is kind of the hard thing. Like anecdotally, a lot of the comments were like people, calling the token a scam. And it's just like kind of like the typical like run of the mill PumpFun comment section if you've ever checked it. People asking for like $5. People trolling me. I was getting a lot of trolls.
No.
It was really kind of heartbreaking. Like I was in my friend's kitchen and they kept making comments about the stove behind me. So, I'm really unpacking that all still. Lots of trauma to deal with. But yeah, it was an interesting crowd for sure. Like I think once it was also like the first actual podcast they did, so I think like once you kind of build up an audience and people know what it is, then I think it kind of gets more interesting. Like imagine if Up Only had like some sort of social token when they were streaming. Like last cycle, those were always so fun to tune into, and you were kind of just like keeping score, I guess, more or less on like the timeline of what the peanut gallery was saying. But there's always funny stuff happening. So, that would be a wish list to see a Up Only live stream with a PumpFun token. That would just be really cool. But yeah, in general, I think that's the biggest hurdle for them. It's just bringing on people that realize what it is and kind of discerning that from the traditional meme coin community.
I'm surprised. One more thought here is like, there's some clear opportunities, right? Like, people memed about the LA vape cabal, but like, that's probably your target, like initial set of creators, right? You want those people on the platform because like they do have pretty big audiences, and the people in those audiences, like they're watching them because they're talking about coins and trading coins. And like, that's the whole point. Ansem on PumpFun would probably go insane. Gainsey is on there, but he's not maybe as relevant as he used to be, but it's exactly that archetype is probably the sort of like first target, creator.
Yeah. I tuned into one of Gainsey's yesterday before going live, just to like kind of do some DD because I'd only just seen clips of it on Twitter, and it's it's hilarious when you tune in. I would highly recommend it for anyone who's trying to do some research themselves on some of this cutting edge technology that we're dealing with.
Gen Z investors talking about watching a live stream as due diligence on their investments.
Yeah. I will say one thing. There's a whole side of crypto that I see sometimes. And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And it's the same people who watch like Orangey and LA Vape Cabal. But that's the new, like, there's also idiots who watch Adam Ross and all of those people. So I feel like that's like, we're onboarding the next generation of Adam Rosses onto PumpFun, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. And it brings REV, and that's all that matters. Let's never forget that.
100%. And if you ever see content from like Aiden Ross or even bigger like a Speed or like ISO Speed or like Kai Sinat, like some of the really big names now, like the type of stuff that they do is like crazy, flashy, like show off. Go to China and like have people on the street walking up to you like, holy crap, this guy, or like jumping over cars on like they're doing wacky stuff. And so having coins and like things tradable that like this, there's already like a very clear attention game and a lot of like excitement around that. So I do there are synergies here. It's just like tapping into that in the right way that gets like this consistent user base spun up.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, totally. And you want to go ahead?
No, please.
And there's like, I've seen this thing of like, it's like a survey of what ideal careers would be for people based off like, it was like when they did the survey in like the year 2000, or ideal like careers is like astronaut, fireman, policeman, lawyer, doctor. A lot of them now, like the top one is streamer, influencer, like YouTuber, something to like the tune of that. It's like some sort of like content producer, which I think is really interesting. It's just kind of like, where does this all cap out? Not entirely sure. Like on the stream yesterday, we had like 150 viewers, like to 200 on average at most all times. So, and that's just for like some brand. Like we were talking about like the like change to Solana's consensus, the like the Alpenglow like white paper that was like released at Accelerate. So I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what kind of content people are talking about, what people want to see. But I mean, there's certainly an appetite for it amongst the youth, it seems, right?
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Ekiden. Ekiden is a decentralized order book-based exchange built on Aptos with a mission to create a scalable, institutional-grade trading platform. To learn more about Ekiden, follow the link in today's show notes.
As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research.
Let's talk about Alpenglow. Let's stop talking about PumpFun, because if we talk more about the youth and social media trends, I'm gonna go to my like, we're gonna all stop using social media take again. All that I've read is that, all that I've heard is that the Alpenglow consensus changes are gonna lead to the break-even cost being a lot lower than it was before. Because from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. Currently, to spin up a validator, what people typically will do is like they'll sign up for the delegate program, which I guess reduces voting fees, or they pay for the voting fees over the first few years, and they'll match your stake. So that's how like people are onboarded, and then you have to attract stake. For those who are not familiar, Solana has voting fees, which actually apparently make up a lot of the cost, like a lot more than the hardware, which I did not know. And now they're planning on cutting that out, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So, as it is right now, validators that are onboarded through the Foundation Delegation Program, they do have a reduced voting cost that is kind of being phased out in general, as we're not going to have voting costs anymore. And if you're just kind of looking at like voting and its impact on the chain in general, as well as aside from like validator economics, like 33% of all transactions on Solana are vote transactions, because you have like, let's call it 2,000 odd validators voting in every single slot. Every single slot is like 400 milliseconds. So by the time I finish this sentence, like there's been plenty of like tens of thousands of transactions already sent that are vote only. And because you're voting on every single slot, this is actually quite a big cost to validators themselves. Like that's like roughly like 1 SOL on average per day. So, if you're denominating in SOL, 1 SOL equals 1 SOL, but like as the price goes up, you can argue that it's like kind of more costly. But yeah, with Alpenglow, I mean, that's going to be completely removed. It's a really, really interesting talk and paper in general. I can share the links with you guys. You can put them in the show notes.
Yeah.
But it's a really pragmatic approach of the Anza team really kind of looking at the current consensus on Solana, ripping that apart piece by piece. Like they literally like take out proof of history, they take out, which is like kind of the main thing that actually causes a lot of these costs, and take out all these pieces and just replace them with 2 core things of voter and rotor. Rotor is the block propagation, and voter is kind of more like the actual voting. So that's now taking place off chain. in a different way. But overall, this is going to lead to a 100x improvement on finality. So current finality for Solana, even though like blocks are super fast, finality is 12.8 seconds. And so this is going to take finality down to actually 150 milliseconds. And the closest benchmark, to my understanding, is 400 milliseconds. And while they didn't name the team, I believe it's Mainnet, which has been able to achieve that. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And it's a really interesting model, really pragmatic approach, and pretty exciting to actually see like a competitive client environment now on Solana. Because obviously you had FireDancer, which was, I mean, everyone's very excited about FireDancer and kind of everything they were able to demo on testnet and all these other things. But now, Anza and their Agave client is going to be, cranking up pretty high, and that's going to actually make it even better for FireDancer.
Yeah. We've seen actually quite a bit of improvements on the Solana side this last year. I feel like before 2022, I didn't really care that much about Solana, to be honest with you guys. Especially about the consensus and the updates. But I feel like in the past year, we had SIMD 228, which eventually ended up failing, but it was very controversial and a lot of people talked about it. SIMD 96, or is it 196? Ian, please correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 96? It's 96.
You're talking about the priority fees being able to be distributed? Yes. You're
96,
so right, Buck. 96.
Thank you very much. And then they had 123 as well. And now they have consensus changes and they have FireDancer coming up. I'm curious if you guys think there's any differences in the way that they approach it versus like how other chains approach it. Specifically with like how updates are. Because Ian, you kept hinting that it's pragmatic. And I'm curious why you think it's more pragmatic than other people potentially.
Hard to benchmark pragmatism versus other people's pragmatism, because I mean the concept itself, right, is just like trying to take an idea, looking at something for what it is and piecing it apart and seeing if like you can actually do it better. And I mean it's also kind of a big ego thing, I would say, as well. It's like say that even though like you're the chain with the fast, like most activity today, you're the fastest chain that's used by the most people, you can still have room for improvements. And so I thought like that kind of whole thing was very interesting because if you're in the lead, you're often not worried about yourself, And I feel like that's kind of like Solana's core ethos, I would say, post FTX is all of the builders that were there from that time and all the engineers have somewhat of like what I would kind of call like underdog psychosis, where they were constantly being, bombarded by the ETH folks of saying like, all these things are wrong with your chain, blah, blah, blah. It's never going to work. There's no real action over there. And, you had like, I mean, you guys kind of remember that version of Mert on Twitter where he was just an absolute keyboard warrior, like just kind of dispelling a lot of that FUD. And they've, walked the walk and talked the talk now. So I think it's actually pretty cool to see them still interested on improving even further.
Yeah, I think at one point Matt continued to shit on ETH, and I think I realized like at that point that it was like they weren't an underdog anymore, because it was like it felt bad when he did that. I was like, you're just punching down now. Since then, he stopped doing that. I think he realized as well that he's like punching down. I had 4 pre-written questions for this pod, specifically prepared. These are generally like things that I've wanted to talk about, and I feel like we never get to talk about them, so I'm going to do it. What apps? These are very general questions. What apps do we like? What apps do we not like? What apps do we want to see? This is the first question. I'll give you guys a minute to think. Well, that might be a bit long.
I'll jump in with what I like and what I want to see. Obviously very consumer focused, and I wrote about Axiom recently, and I think they made a very obvious choice to combine Sol memes and hyperliquid perps. Like that felt like a layup. That the other trading bots and like trading apps just had not jumped on yet. I think that's cool. What I want to see more of though is like, Axiom's a web terminal, and a lot of these trading bots are still, it's like they got a Telegram interface. Maybe they have a website, a web terminal as well. Give me an iOS, Android native mobile app. Make it clean, make it, give me like the Robinhood experience on my phone for like trading and looking at assets and stuff. That's where I think we're headed, and that's what I want to see. And there's still like these small frictions. Like if anyone is trading like on their phone or on their computer or like doing anything with assets on chain, it's like maybe you have a wallet here and a wallet there, and maybe those are like disconnected, or maybe you have your phone thing that you only do certain things on. And it's like, okay, maybe I'll look up the asset on this site, and then I got to copy the CA into this app to trade it, and then go back and I can look at my balance in my wallet after I trade it. There's a lot of friction in these things still. It's like, sure, if you're using a trading bot, maybe like that is all contained, but you're probably still pulling up like deck screener tabs and like looking over at your Twitter feed and this, that, and the other thing. There's an opportunity, I think, to streamline this, and I'm excited for someone to like really put more of those pieces together.
I agree with all of your takes, as always. I will say one thing. This is something that both, I don't know if you guys know them, Evan, SS6, and Pepper, they're both on Twitter. It's fine. They both shill this app quite a bit. It's called Slingshot. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Why don't people use it? Go ahead, Ian.
I was gonna say, I've literally only heard it from their tweets. I haven't used it, but I've seen. I mean, Evan's a hilarious account because he's very smart and very funny. Yeah. But yeah, I've only seen him like sign off on tweets with like Slingshot the same way people sign off with Hyperliquid. But yeah, I haven't actually used it. But if it's anything like what Danny was just describing, I mean, that sounds really nice.
Yeah, I think they lost volume and users because obviously people use apps because they're like, they at least initially onboarded because they think they're going to get an airdrop. And then they got bought out by Magic Eden. So I think maybe people are assuming that there won't be another airdrop, which I don't know, obviously. Danny, one question I always have about this, the iOS thing, Ian, we will get to your choices as well, is that I feel like people like Telegram apps because it is close to what they use. So like I'm all day on Telegram, and that's why I like Telegram interfaces. My worry with the iOS app is that it's like, if you like Vector, like it's not great. I mean, I guess they're not great as well, but I feel like, does that make sense to you? Like my workflow is like very much like being on Telegram and then just being able to buy a shitter on Telegram. If I have to buy a shitter, gun to my head, I'll do it through Telegram.
Yeah, I feel you there. I mean, I think I think that is a big part of the Telegram like dominance of these things still. So obviously, like Axiom, like they came out of the scene. They didn't use a Telegram bot like incumbents at the time, but the best product experience kind of, I think, propelled them there, and then their go-to-market strategy. I think that's a big piece here. Like, why is Slingshot not killing it despite potentially having a great product? Like, yeah, I've seen Evan SS6 tweet about it. I haven't seen like an Ansem or like other big personalities. Like, I think ultimately that is an important aspect here, is like getting large communities interested, invested, whatever that means, into your product. And I think a part of that for some of these is like the referral rewards systems are a meaningful piece there, right? Some of these big KOLs, they can get a ton of money from that. But as to like connecting it to the chats, I think that's meaningful. Like PvP trade is a cool example, like where you can do the trades like right in your chat feed. But at the same time, I don't know that I necessarily, or that most people necessarily like need that feature. Like, it's great to be able to share, like, I just bought this token. I don't know that I necessarily need to surface like, okay, he just went long in my chat and I can see that. As long as there's like very like limited friction to this guy sent me a coin and I can buy it. And I think, just having dedicated mobile apps with like the right, whatever. Nikita Beer could hack something out where it's like you send somebody an iOS message with a CA and then it like pops up your frickin', your trading app and it sets it to auto buy a certain amount. Like I'm sure there's some iOS and Android geniuses that could make really compelling experiences to where it doesn't feel like there's any friction. And I think that's the important part.
Yeah, I agree. I will say I do like PvP trade, as I've always said. I like the social aspect. I think they did it right as opposed to Vector. Ian, what do you think? What are your favorite applications to use on the blockchain?
I mean, yeah, mainly just DeFi stuff. And I feel like the DeFi experience now is actually just like very good. I haven't had a bad DeFi experience in a while, and that's kind of made me almost a bit numb to, I guess, how bad it used to be. Like, do you remember trying to, not even trying to, but do you remember like $200 swaps on ETH Mainnet for a token that was not worth it at all? like that was, I mean, that's a lot of my memory of like DeFi now. Anytime I want to go like buy something on whatever platform it is, it's really smooth. Price slippage, haven't had an issue with that at all. I feel like there's a lot of good like protection there now for like good execution. And so what I really want to see now, I guess, is like I'm actually quite excited for the Seeker to ship. I ordered one like a while back and like finally got an email saying like they're gonna start shipping in August or something. So my desire is just the Solana phone. I'm excited to kind of have like a specific hardware device that could be used for like crypto gaming or something like that. And just like I really just want to play like very basic games on it and have a very consumer only experience with it. And maybe be doing like running like DPIN stuff in the background if there's any like things that require that or any like services you can like just opt into when you're not using your phone. But yeah, I mean, I think like the overall DeFi experience right now is like very, very good, which is also I think why there's so much effort towards bringing in like new pools of institutional capital to deploy there, and all sorts of like RWA products, structured credit products, these sorts of things, because more or less like I think we've done quite well in DeFi, and it's really only going to get faster, and it's going to be faster to the point where like our perception, we're not going to really recognize it too much. But if like you're running like trading bots or anything like this, it's like maybe you'll notice the advantage because it's showing up in your data that you're or whatever KPIs you're tracking. But overall, yeah, I think like I don't really like the over financialization of DeFi, like just trying to take this and like push it towards like a social aspect, which is I understand like a bit hypocritical as well, like opening up with saying that I really like the PumpFun live stream. So it's like I think it just kind of depends. I think there's a space for it, and like PumpFun is very much a space that's like thrived off of speculation, degeneracy, just kind of like a lot of like fun, like kind of crypto native and internet stuff. But yeah, I think that's a good like match for it. But overall, it's like I definitely don't feel the same way around like Zora, for example, which I feel like is a very stale experience. But yeah,
I think the Zora PumpFun like dichotomy is the same as what I mentioned, which was like Vector PvP trade, where like one very clearly notices what like the current like the current workflow is and how to fit into it. The other is like no charts. We're doing Instagram for shitters. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Engineered to meet the demands of high-frequency traders and retail alike, Ekiden redefines on-chain trading with lightning-fast performance and decentralized security. Ekiden is building a scalable, institutional-grade trading platform with execution speeds as low as 5 to 15 milliseconds, deep liquidity, and zero maker fees that leverages Aptos' cutting-edge technology for spot and perpetual futures markets. To learn more, follow the link in today's show notes, and thanks again to Ekiden for sponsoring today's episode.
As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk. Terms and conditions apply. Do your own research. I wanted to go to back to the devices, like the Seeker. I would say, like, I'm relatively excited about a lot of the crypto devices that are being built. I ordered a Seeker. I ordered a Sui gaming thing. I ordered a Pulse, fitness band, a bunch of stuff. One, because, airdrop probably makes it free to me at the end. Two, I like what you mentioned there of just like, there's always a reason to have like, if you have a ledger or like some other cold storage device, but it would be cool, like you're saying, to just have like, if I have this other device and I can just like do crypto things on it and I don't have to like mix that with my traditional, like my normal phone and, avoid any kind of cross contamination there, whatever you want to call it, but like have this sort of like safe device to use for that type of stuff. Feels like a great idea. The one thing is like the first phone, the battery was dog shit. So make the phone better, whatever. Make it have a fucking good battery. I don't care.
Yeah.
Make sure it has 24 hours of battery life because that thing was awful.
24 hours battery life is quite a bit, though. No?
Anything. It was so bad. Like I used the thing for a while and it would just have to sit at my desk plugged in. And whenever I unplugged it, it's like, if I looked at it later, it was like 10% and I need to plug it in again. Like not using it, which does not, like for a phone, come on, it should last for a day with usage.
Yeah. I remember the camera also wasn't very good. Ian, what are you going to say?
Yeah, I didn't get the first iteration. I heard a lot of these same complaints. I know Teddy had one, so I'll have to debrief with him and see kind of what how he feels about it. But I mean, to your point, Bach, he definitely made his money back on airdrops. If you guys kind of remember that, the bonk that was given to all the original seekers, and then there's the people are trying to like arb the bonk price of the seeker, like they came with the seeker on like $1,000 seekers on eBay and all this other stuff. But yeah, Denny, who made the Pulse? Who made the fitness band?
Yeah, it's Pulse. What are they called? Pulse No Limits. I think
they're on Solana as well, right? They're on Solana and Monad.
Solana, Monad, yeah. And it's basically like a Whoop, but yeah. I think the point is basically like do a Whoop band, but then put the data or like rewards and challenges and things like on chain, like gamify it, have points, kind of go like the Helium route with a Whoop band.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. Like, I don't know how realistic it is, but I've seen some things of like, maybe have like AI agent apps that can then do like automated workout plans based on the data that, your band provides it, stuff like that. I just think it's like it's a fun spin on this idea. We're seeing a lot of phones. So to see like a fitness band and like gaming devices and other things, I just found that interesting.
Yeah, I think that is pretty cool. Did you guys ever use Steppen when it was out?
No.
For like a day.
I still use Steppen from time to time. Because it's like if I'm gonna be doing something anyways, and I'm like just getting coins for it, that's fun.
How much do you make per kilometer?
I mean, man, we'll have to debrief after this, but it's got to be like fractions of pennies at this point. Yeah. But at one point, I remember I was getting like $100 for a run. I was like, surely this is sustainable. This is the new paradigm. It's here, and I'm part of it. For a living. I'm going to quit my job and just run. Yeah. I have to work. I can just run. But no, yeah, like the model obviously was like kind of. I mean, not kind of. It was definitely flawed there. But I think if like you can just attach incentive to things people are already going to do, that's also like the same reason I'm excited around like just like kind of basic gaming on phones and stuff like that. Because it's just like people are already going to be doing these things. I don't think like the killer crypto game is going to be like one that competes with like GTA 6 or any of the big games for that matter.
Yeah.
So. Quite excited for these sorts of things.
The killer crypto game might just be GTA 6, right? They can just put it in there. They'll figure it out. I like your point though. Like like gamification of exercise, like just feels like a winner to me, because I think there's a ton of people who would never care to walk or run. And like, obviously people went and did step in when that was a thing. So if you can broaden that with like a wellness thing, if your Apple Watch like really like incentivize you to do, make your health numbers like look better, stuff like that. I think there's ways to kind of like, trick people to be a little bit healthier, which is a nice thing. Maybe the economics don't really work out, but like, I agree with you. For me, I mean, I work out regularly, but like having a plan and like, oh, I improved, like I did this run and then I did more distance, like that type of stuff, like having a plan and like kind of rewarding yourself for that I think is an important part. So I think building up products around that is important. Like Strava, obviously people love to like compete with their friends and do challenges and things like that. So there's definitely a place for it.
What is Strava?
It's essentially just like a running app. Like you track your runs. It's like a running social app, I would say. You track your runs and then you can share the route that you did, and people follow you and people can give you like kudos. So like you could create some sort of model where it's like if you're sharing a lot of like new fun routes and people are actually then verifiably running those routes, then maybe you're like earning rewards in some sort of token. Because like otherwise, like how else? I don't really know if Strava is trying to continue to grow right now, or like how aggressive that company actually is. Because like, I mean, again, it's like something people are already doing. So like a plug in there, I think would just be like kind of like added like fuel to the fire. And it's even better if you don't really know that it's crypto, the same way like Blackbird is, which is another kind of odd one. That's like restaurant rewards. I have a lot of like friends that don't do crypto at all, but they have Blackbird, and they had no idea that you're like there's actually like a token on the back end, and you can pay with a token and all these other sorts of things. But yeah, I think that area is still largely unexplored, but I just don't know how scalable or investable it is.
Yeah, investability is a question, but it does feel like it, there's an angle to go from, and people have talked about this idea forever. So we'll see if it really happens, but to go from the model where like every app is free and they just take all your data to like, okay, you use an app and then they pay you for your data with a token, and then they can monetize that data by selling it to somebody else, right? Who does something with it, market research, whatever, makes products. And you get some reward out of it, which, we've had these little experiments, right? Step in others, but it's not really like taken off at scale, obviously, because people like Apple and Google.
I mean, there's a few that have worked out, like Grass. It's not Steppen, obviously. It's not a consumer app. But what I mean is, like, if the data is worth something, which, like, I don't know how much it's worth to track your run, Danny. No offense. You're great. But, like, what am I going to do if you run? Like, if I'm a company, I'm not sure. I feel like I need more intimate data. Like,
I think the health data for like a fitness band, if it's got your heart rate and different things like that, and they've got that on a wide population, like, drug companies, things like that. Like it seems like there's an angle, but they'll obviously have to sell that to them, right? They got to pitch that.
Yeah, it's tough. Actually, talking about Grass, that's the one product that I really want. Since we're talking about product and software and whatnot, they're supposed to ship this, like, they've posted about it, or it's in their docs or something. They have like a hardware device. I don't like having it on my computer. I want like a separate hardware device that I can just run, connects to my Wi-Fi, just does whatever it has to do. Don't think they're gonna give me one. Don't know how I can even get one. Apart from that, apps I don't like. You guys didn't say apps I don't like, which is fine. Apps I don't like. No, actually, I was gonna say Wolf Swap, but Ian, I actually want to bring this up. You know that thing that you mentioned where it's like apps now feel really, really good. You don't bridge over to new chains, because if you bridge over to a new chain, you always see the same. I assume these are like larger operations in Eastern Europe and in Asia, and it's like they launch on every EVM chain that they can. Like if you bridge to abstract, which is also another streaming thing. Wow, this is very late. I'm just answering like 3 questions from before, but Wolf Swap launched on Abstract like hour 2, like the first 2 hours. And if you use that application, you can see that like we've like obviously the big boys have changed a lot, but if you like miss that old experience of like, holy fuck, how the hell am I going to do this? Whereas like you try to like change the tokens and it like completely resets the entire website and you have to like redo everything. When a new chain launches, use the first DEX and you're gonna want to kill yourself. It's incredible. Applications that I don't like, I don't know. I don't really want to shit on anybody today. What I'm looking forward to, mobile apps, 100%. I'm surprised we don't have any good ones yet. I mean, last time Ryan was here, it was like Jupiter is good. I checked it out. It's all right. It's nothing special. It's just like swaps on the phone, which I guess is what you want. That's it. I know I didn't say much to go off there, but
Yeah, I think there's no bad apps coming to mind because we already know the good ones to use, and like we're not like you only really discover bad apps. I would say if like you're unsatisfied with the one you're currently using, you go to try something else, or if you're like you're just like kind of like out there, just trying literally every dex on whatever chain you're on. Maybe you're farming it. Maybe you're just a power user. But overall, yeah, I can't really think of any like particularly upsetting experiences I've had.
yeah, I think Uniswap is kind of shit now. They like hold your hand a bit too much. I think all of ETH DeFi has started to do this thing where it's like kind of trying to appeal to the normies, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it's like 10,000 people who spend most of the fees and do most of the volume, and then you're like clearly trying to onboard these other people who don't have interest in crypto, and those that do have interest in crypto can just use like a basic crypto app and you don't have to like very simplify this. I think the biggest offender in this, probably Drift, who's like perpetual product. Now they fixed it. Before it was like 2 buttons, you couldn't see the order book at all. It was just like, why, like who's going to trade perps to just like buy and sell? Like who does perps like that? Uniswap, I don't know if you guys use Matcha. Do either of you use No, neither of you guys use Ethereum in general, as I assume, right?
If I do have to use it, I use CalSwap because
Okay, they give
it
you money back.
moves.
That's true.
I always
I don't
use
use it because it gives me money back. I use it because it moves when your transaction goes through.
When that first happened, it really freaked me. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, it's definitely scared my wife a couple times.
I've used DeFi Llama's Llama Swap for a long time, and it's been a good product, and I've not cared to get outside of that, to be honest.
That's fair. I love DeFi Llama. I'm a big like front end guy for some reason. I don't like the front end, so I can't use it.
Or you want it to like look pretty or something?
I wanted to have that corporate style that everybody has, where it's like, like white and like clean boxes. I like that. I want like very like clean borders and stuff. It's a great product.
The main thing I'll say, we're talking EVM is like, and you're asking about like products we don't like. The EVM is the product that I don't like, and like layer 2s and having to deal with it of just like, if I want to, like, I've got, stables and ETH on different chains and it's like spread out, but then it's like when something happens on base or it happens on, I played a Cambria on Abstract, or like this thing on Arbitrum, like it's honestly, it's just like an annoyance to be like, okay, I need to bridge some funds. Okay. And then I need to like, I'm on this chain and I'm doing this thing on this chain instead of that chain. And like, oh, I need ETH, or I need USD. Like there's just so much like headache to that. And it's not a big deal, having done 2020, 2021 style DeFi stuff, which was much worse objectively. But just compared to like, going on Solana, or not that there's much happening on like Sui or Aptos comparatively, but like the experience of just everything is in one place and I don't need to, mess around with that garbage, it's less headache, and it's more convenient.
Yeah. I think I only hold stables on Ethereum. And I also don't hold anything on Solana, actually. I will say this on the pod. This should go out on Monday. It is May 29th. I like, that meme where it's like, I bridged over all of my finances to Hyperliquid, to Hyper EVM. I think because The thing is that it's so convenient because I can buy spot Bitcoin, I can long stuff, and like I can borrow and lend. And I honestly don't borrow or lend, and all I want to do is like trade coins. I have some Solana in like Telegram bots. Majority is on Hyperliquid and Spot BTC, Spot Sol, Spot E. No, not ETH. Spot Hype. I do like that. Obviously, like I like Hyperliquid in general, but I agree with you. Like the EVM is very difficult. I almost like kind of feel bad that it's become so difficult. Do you guys ever like look at ETH and you're like, what could have been? Like I loved you.
Yeah, I literally had that thought like earlier this week on a run, which unfortunately I wasn't using Steppen for. But yeah, I had that thought because it's like, think about how much it's really kind of crazy to see how much usage Hyperliquid has gotten. In terms of, it's like 70+% now of like the entire Arbitrum USDC supply is over there. That's pretty crazy. Like, there's very much a desire and there's very much like large pools of capital that are willing to use EVM products. And that's just like happens to be like the first one that's really excited people in a long time. And it kind of, but we don't really think of it as like Ethereum per se. Like maybe that kind of changes a bit with like Hyper EVM. But also like I haven't really seen a super ambitious technical roadmap around like Hyper EVM, which like I think they should absolutely pursue, because like they have all of the users clearly. Why not just kind of like really shoot for the stars? I understand that like the core team is very much focused on just like the perps decks and like the club and all this all these other things, but if you have a chance to dethrone mainnet, like ETH mainnet, as like the like EVM finance hub, why not just go for the jugular and just like really try to do it? Because obviously everyone else is going to be trying to do that. Like you have teams like Monad, you have teams like Mega ETH, and kind of all those projects over there. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me necessarily if it's like Ethereum itself, because like obviously we've seen like those trade-offs have to be made in terms of like if you really want like a ideologically driven chain, you're not going to be able to satisfy users the same way Solana can, or the same way that like Fogo can, or any of these other like kind of high performance networks. But that is just kind of the reality.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that you did the G-Fogo in there. One thing I have to say to correct you is that from what I've seen, now that there's one thing with Hyperliquid that I think is like relatively difficult, is that they are very private about everything. They're very private about the roadmap. They're very private about what they ship. But there are a few channels that you can look at. So they have an API announcements channel and a regular announcements channel. And when they do upgrades on testnet, they get posted on the announcements channel. So like the last, I don't know, whatever, like 10 updates, it's not usually spot listings or upgrades to the to the perps protocol. It's typically like we've added read precompiles to the Hyper EVM. We've like doubled the block size on the Hyper EVM. So I'm gonna do, like, with all due respect, I'm gonna do some pushback over here. I'm gonna say I think they're mostly focused on the Hyper EVM now. And I agree with you. Like, if you have that chance, you just have such a fantastic product that is like clearly funneling users constantly. And to go from Hyper EVM from the Hyper Core to the Hyper EVM is like super. Do you guys trade perps on Binance and stuff, or do you use Binance and stuff?
We're both U.S. citizens, so
that's illegal, sir.
Okay. Have you used Hyperliquid?
Yes.
You just have to click a button to go from spot to EVM. It's very, very simple. You like have to approve one transaction and it goes. It's fantastic. I think so I think they're probably playing into it and they're gonna make it work. I'm very hopeful for that. I've moved the entirety of my family's finances onto the Hyper EVM. I'm looking forward to it. Well, this is potentially a top as well, because that was a pasta. Sometimes idiots come after me and say, "Oh, block posted the top." I did it. Shut up.
I want to add something because I like that you brought up Hyperliquid in response to my comments about ETH and Sol and other chains, because I think it's just kind of like showcasing what happened to the Ethereum network effect. Like they kind of broke it. They had a very strong network effect, right? Everyone was on EVM, and then they're like, actually, we can't do this anymore. Like, do shit on the other chains and like just fracture it all up and make it annoying as fucking hell. And that completely ruined the experience for, like, you know, if you got a bridge to base and Arbitrum and Optimism and like this chain and that chain, you're doing different things on all of them. Like, you don't want to swap on mainnet, but maybe you want to do lending on mainnet. That's where all the liquidity is. But then Arbitrum has this app. Like, it totally ruins the experience. And, you know, teams like, it's funny because they've not really done that well, but like Osmosis, for example, in the Cosmos space, they knew from the beginning that like they were doing this like multi-chain thing, and actually their UX was pretty nice for that. Like, you just go to Osmosis, and if you have stuff on other chains, like click a button and it pulls it from there to here, and it's there, and it's easy to trade. And like, nobody ever really like got to that UX level with EVM apps. It's like I got to go to a bridge app, and then I go to like the app that I actually want to touch, and then like, you know, the swapping place. And there are some places where that's like a little more streamlined, like you can do swaps like cross chain, and that like handles a couple of those things. But it still just feels like it's so fragmented across these things that it's painful to use relative to what it used to be. And so to go to something like Hyperliquid, where it's like, I'm on the perps thing. Okay, now I'm on the EVM. It was one click. Now I'm doing swaps on meme coins or whatever. Or Solana, where it's like, it's all just on the chain. Like, I don't know. I think it speaks to like how valuable like the simplicity of having it all in one place is. Like the network effect associated with that, just like the UX product effect in terms of like a consumer using it. And Ethereum just kind of gave it up, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would say I totally agree with all of it. I definitely think Osmosis had an advantage, right? Because like Cosmos has canonical um, interop with IBC, and so like that's definitely a big plus. But yeah, I mean, if you know that that's going to be the end game of like there's going to be funds on a bunch of different chains, it's nice to have one agreed upon solution. Otherwise, I think you end up just having to play the BD game where, you know, you're maybe like powering your transfers using layer 0 or wormhole, whatever it may be. And like there's different trust assumptions with both of those. But if you just have like one standard that's across entire network, that's like a little bit easier for sure. But yeah, it would definitely be nice if that part of the UX just improved in general.
Yeah, I always thought Intense would fix it, but like no one's complaining about having to buy BTC on ETH or on base, but it's like buying shitters, and then Intents are mainly it's solvers, which are just market makers, and no one wants to hold dog shit. It's risky for market makers. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
The other option is just having one chain that dominates all the activity, and then like you're not worried about interop because you're doing everything on one chain. And I think that's like still very much like a real reality that could exist. I mean, also just for like individual users, not like ubiquitously across everyone. But it's like, you know, what you were describing, Danny, of like just being able to go from like one click from hype spot perps to hyper EVM, just like make it as like frictionless as possible. And same thing goes with Solana, same thing will go with Fogo, same thing will go with Monad, hopefully, and all these other new chains that launch. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've talked on this point like a billion times about, you know, if ETH could have named a canonical L2 and just been like, put the traffic there, that's the one. And it would have sort of been like the inverse of the Hyperliquid, right? Where you go from the everything EVM chain to like, maybe then you have this L2 and it's like, you put all the really, I don't know, maybe it would have just been like swaps and stuff to start out of like shitters and meme coins. Kind of the reverse direction of like going from the Hyperliquid perps exchange and then bolting on the EVM afterwards. They could have done the exact same thing, right? And it would have addressed all those problems, but you know, just whatever it was, you know, the community was too large, couldn't agree on the most appropriate solution. Then you just end up with, okay, there's 10 L2s, so they're gonna build their solution. And then obviously there's friction.
Yeah, I think they thought that there would be like some social layer decision, but that constantly like there's still so much TVL on ARB, and I know TVL is typically like a meme because it's just dead capital that doesn't really exist. But and then it's like they chose base afterwards, like. But still, there's every time something new launches, you go on it. It's tough. Like the social, if you let people try and decide. Also, I feel like they have an issue with how many voices they have and how different each of them approaches it. Like sometimes I'll see a Vitalik tweet. Sometimes Justin Drake will say something, and then some other ETH guy will say something, and then Vitalik will just come in and say, "This is fucking dog shit. We're not doing this," or like something of in the way that he says, where it's like, "I'm concerned about the practicalities of this," or like, "We need to make sure it's World War III resistant," or and he still holds such a huge voice. And then Justin Drake's like writing about store of value of Bitcoin being bad and that Ethereum is gonna eat everything. And then there's the whole foundation side. I feel like there's nobody who's really like speaking on it. And on Solana, I think everybody agreed. There were a lot of voices: Matt, Raj, Toli, and the industry is still so small that people look up to these like figures. And they like those three, as well as a bunch of other people, they just agreed on the same exact idea. I hate IBRL. Like I hate the motto, but I mean they all agreed on it and it fucking worked out.
Yeah, I mean, cohesion is very powerful. Also, like those guys that you just mentioned are all like we're all very much in the weeds from the Solana side. I do think like I think ETH kind of missed its chance to have like someone bearing the torch in terms of direction who was like a DeFi builder, because that's still the obvious use case for Ethereum today. Is like there's more of the stablecoin supply over there than anywhere else, albeit a lot of that is just on exchanges. But then there's tons of stablecoins in Spark, tons of stablecoins in Aave. There's lots of lending and borrowing activity taking place over there, but like I think there's like talks. People say that like the foundation like really did not like DeFi, and they didn't like help them as much as they could. And then I think Solana just kind of saw the approach that they were taking. Like that's all like find a North Star and just march towards it. And I think that's kind of exactly what you were saying, Bach.
I unironically think who would be good? Mark Zeller. Legit.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I think Zeller has like been like one of the few voices in Ethereum that has had the courage to be disliked, and like had the courage to like not really give a fuck what people say about him, and to like just draw his line in the sand, have a crash out publicly with Gauntlet. But it's like it's for a protocol like he genuinely believes in. He's working to better Aave every single day. Like he's not just like talking the talk. Like some of the .eths just like tweet nonsense about like ETH being money, ETH having like a store of value, and like they don't actually contribute to the ecosystem in any meaningful way in the way that Zeller does. So like that's like a big difference I think that we really haven't seen with too many other builders. And like he's not like the Aave dev or anything either. He's like literally like a community member who just like decided he cares about something and wanted to make a difference. Like realized he had very high agency and is making the most of it.
Yeah, you definitely just need like someone strong-willed and incredibly opinionated. And I think you're right, Bach, that like too many cooks like in the kitchen. It just you don't have that cohesive, strong, opinionated stance. It's like it becomes muddy and it's like too easy to change too often. And like when you're Solana and it's just like go faster, more throughput, less latency. It's like very clear what you're doing. And ETH was never very clear.
Yeah, I will say, yeah, that's literally it. And Avi's doing fantastically as well. Like they're doing great. Still surprisingly, even though like I was talking shit about them a few months ago, I saw that they've like hit a massive benchmark recently. I can't remember what it is, to be honest with you guys. It's just like on lending and borrowing.
Yeah,
I still think there's a shot for ETH. Like I'm curious, you guys' thoughts. I still think there's a shot for ETH. Like they still, in my opinion, as like from the outside looking in, like they still haven't really hammered away like what is this clear core opinionated stance that they're going to like drive forward. Because it's like you hear, oh no, we are going to expand blobs. Oh, we actually are going to expand the L1. Oh, we actually, look, we're going to raise gas limits. It's like, I don't know. I hear different like bits and pieces that are like more or less to some of those different targets going into the future. And it's like what's the clear stance? Solana, it's very obvious to me. You know what I mean? Hyperliquid, it's very obvious to me. What is it for ETH?
My personal opinion on this is that I think they should scale the L1, but in my mind, what is probably going to happen is rollups. Whatever, like whoever's the more powerful one, it could be like a ZK rollup, it could be based rollups, whatever. And I think ETH becomes primarily, well, they try to position it. I don't think any of this is going to work out, but I think increasingly we'll see them say it's too late, we have to do rollups. Because one thing that I think a lot of people often, like, we say, why did we do rollups? You should have just scaled the L1, but a lot of these guys have huge stakes in some of these rollups. Like as advisor positions, as investors. Do you guys remember when that Eigenlayer thing came out? Like imagine that before 30 rollups. Like I imagine a lot of people in the Ethereum community who have a voice are invested in some of these rollups. And why shouldn't they be? Because they believe that this could be the next solution. And at the time, that's what it looked like. And I don't think that anybody can say that we now know that they were wrong, but there was a point when Arbitrum was doing all the transactions and we were saying, wow, the L2s really worked out. Rollups were like the right decision. So I think there's a lot of money and time invested in it. I don't think that they'll go back on it. I think they'll probably try and do a half and half where it's like, okay, we're going to scale the L1. I don't know if it'll be meaningful. Every time they bring it up, someone starts a fight. It is so ridiculous. It's like, oh, like, what's the plan to take it down to 1 second? The block times from 12 to 1. And then Vitalik was like, I don't think we can get to 6 because of this, and it would like block this. So it's like they're arguing about bringing it from 12 to 1, but then they're like, oh, we actually need to first bring it to 6, and then nothing's happened. We've been talking about this for 2 years. I've personally remember my third podcast, we were talking about this, my third podcast episode on Xerox Research. We're still fucking talking about it. In fact, like halfway through our ETH convo, I was like, guys, we gotta fucking shut this down because I cannot do this again. Anyway, scaled L1 rollups. Probably try and position it as a sovereign store of value asset, as I think what they will probably try and go with, which I think will fail because Bitcoin is the store of value asset. Even though I know the meme about the 21 mil activities low economic securities shit, the quantum hacks, whatever you want to say, it's like it was chosen. There is a reason why it happened. Immaculate conception, is that what it is? So that's my like, I guess my answer is that it'll go the exact same way, and it'll be like they'll be too distracted until the end. They'll do the L1, the L2s, and they'll try and be a money, and it probably won't work out. Let's see, unless someone like really strong comes in. Napoleon could fix this whole thing, or Bismarck.
Yeah, great way to round out that take. Totally agree that Napoleon can fix this. No, it does kind of feel like times a bit like a flat circle there with Ethereum though, right? Because like I felt like as it was really getting beaten down like over the past couple months, and like people were like seriously contemplating like, wow, this might be it for ETH. I feel like that's when things really started to turn around. And they kind of like reorged the entire foundation. It was like, oh my gosh, we have all these plans, everything's looking really good. And then we had like that solid run up, and we went right back to like, well, ETH is money, it's a sovereign store of value. It's like gold. It's World War III resistant. It's perfect. And we kind of like we got back to a point of delusion very quickly. Whereas like we were actually getting somewhere, I felt like before.
Yeah, it feels like ETH going down in price is probably the most productive thing for the network, because it gets people, like, it lights the fire under their ass to be like, okay, we should ship some stuff right now.
Dude, look at the ETH BTC chart. Like, it's been down only. No one's been like, we gotta fucking ship some stuff. It's just, it's down. it's also so crazy because if you talk to, I think every single both retail investor and liquid investor, the idea in 22, 23 was just buy ETH and it's going to go back to all-time highs. And it's just broken so many hearts, including mine. Like I also bought ETH in 20. I don't think anybody, like you can talk that, I would say probably like 95% of people bought ETH at some point, except for you. You didn't buy any ETH, Danny?
No, not meaningfully.
Okay. But yeah, you still bought some ETH because you were like, this will at least be relevant. I'll need gas on the chain.
You got to use the chains. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Versus now, I feel like people are being onboarded with like Orangey and whatnot. And I'm sure some of these people haven't even heard of Ethereum. Like they just have a phantom wallet, 0.5 Sol, and a dream. They don't care about L2 roadmaps, the shared sequencers.
Yeah. Like I think it's not easy to convince people around like even Bitcoin being a digital sovereign store of value. At like just anyone off the street, I feel like you have someone who's like kind of already well versed in like, I don't know, finance of any sort. If they're a bit of a gold bug, if they're a bit of a government skeptic, if they're a bit of a skeptic in general, like you might have some sort of chance there. But then like just trying to describe what Ethereum is to someone itself is quite hard. And then also then trying to convince them that this is like a sovereign store of value over like all things on the internet. And like, this is the one that will really matter. I mean, if you can convince them, fantastic. But if you can't, it's not entirely surprising as to why you can't.
Yeah. It's gold and oil at the same time. And you can't, people don't fucking get it.
I think he just crafted the perfect narrative, Buck.
Dude, they've had this for 5 years. Do you remember that free drive asset thing? What that they were like shilling for years on end.
I don't.
The triple point asset, yeah.
Yeah. And it just,
I do think if you put the price action properties of gold and oil together, you don't get the best looking chart, but I like where the head's at. I like the ideas around, you need a Napoleon, get a couple lions in the room. They won't have to worry about all the sheep and the rabbits, and they'll just ship.
and
man.
the small dogs, man.
And the small dogs. They just need a couple lines. That's it. And just set them loose, man.
All right. Very good. This is Danny's way of saying, guys, we need to cut it, and we're gonna cut it.
You got to set these lines loose, all three of us.
Let's do something else. Ian, do you have anything you want to say before I let you go?
No, just wish Teddy could be here, man. Just missing him so much. Can't believe he flaked on us like that.
Finance?
He's probably using Wolf Swap right now with like funk Napoleon remixes on one screen and Wolf Swap on the other.
He would have been perfect for this, but I'm surprised he didn't want to come on. It is a big weekend for him. Guys, if you're listening to this pod, please wish Fyodor a nice day and a nice life. I don't know if I should give too many details about what is happening. I don't know what he wants about his privacy. Ian, I'll let you take the risk if you want to, but
yeah, it's his bachelor weekend. We're having a fun time.
Very good, very good. It's his bachelor weekend, and Ian took an hour and a half talking about Wolf Swap on the pod, so it's going crazy over there.
Yeah, it's getting pretty nuts. The Napoleon remixes are only getting louder.
They're going to be moving weird at the bachelor party, and we'll be moving some kind of way at Permissionless next month.
Let's go.
June 24th through the 26th, less than a month away. 0x10, 10% off. Link in the description. Get your tickets. Meet us there. We will have a dunk tank. Bach is getting in the dunk tank.
Yeah.
There will be others in the dunk tank.
The small dog goes in the dunk tank, man. Everybody hit the dunk tank. It's going to be a movie. 0x10, permissionless, June 24th to 26th, Brooklyn. I need to re-record an ad for that because the last one we did, my producer hated it. But yeah, Ian, thanks for coming on. Danny, thank you always for coming on. Great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.